Thank you, Mr. Secretary, Mr. President. Michael Crowley with the New York Times. Mr. Secretary, there's some confusion today about American diplomacy with Panama Canal, as you must be aware. I'm wondering if you could clarify for us. As you surely know, after the State Department announced last night that Panama had supposedly agreed to waive fees for U.S. government vessels transiting the canal, the Panama Canal Authority quickly denied this, and today President Molino, who seems rather upset, called the State Department statement on this lies and falsehoods. Can you tell us your understanding of how we reached this point of confusion and where you understand the situation to be right now? Is there an agreement? What's the point of confusion here? And on USAID, if I may quickly...
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got some crucial updates directly from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. There's been a lot of confusion lately surrounding U.S. diplomacy, especially regarding Panama's stance on the Panama Canal transit fees. And if you're working abroad for USAID or you know someone who is, you'll definitely want to stick around as Rubio addresses the recent order for USAID employees to return to the U.S. within 30 days. Before we dive into all of that, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any important updates. Now let's get right into it. Alright, let's start with the situation in Panama. Last night, the U.S. State Department suggested that Panama had agreed to waive fees for U.S. government vessels transiting the Panama Canal, but almost immediately the Panama Canal Authority denied that claim, and today, Panama's President Laurentino Cortizo called the statement lies and falsehoods. So, what's really going on here? Secretary Rubio clarified that there's no confusion on the U.S. side. He confirmed that conversations have taken place and that the U.S. has clear expectations for Panama. While Panama's government has its own processes and laws to follow, Rubio emphasized that the United States has a treaty obligation to protect the Panama Canal. In the event of an attack, U.S. forces, specifically the U.S. Navy, would be the ones tasked with defending the canal. Rubio argued that it's absurd that the U.S. would have to pay transit fees to use a canal the U.S. is obligated to protect, especially in times of conflict. He respects Panama's processes, but the message from the U.S. remains clear. These fees should not apply to U.S. vessels, given the treaty obligations in place.
What's the point of confusion here? And on USAID, if I may quickly, we are hearing from employees abroad who are confused, anxious, and in some cases actually panicked about the order to return within 30 days. Which is not that much time to uproot and relocate from a foreign country. Do you plan on offering these employees any more guidance on this process? And in particular, are you able to say whether people can serve out their administrative leave in their mission country, or are they required to return home even if they're not using government resources? And Mr. President, please, you said that the leadership of the U.S. is fundamental and there is no substitute in finding some sort of a solution for Haiti. The president of Haiti's Transitional Council seems very concerned about this, said a couple of weeks ago he believes that President Trump does not care about Haiti and that the Trump administration's policies will be a catastrophe for his country. Can you just give us a sense of your confidence level that the Trump administration will follow through and exercise the sort of leadership role you described? Thank you.
Let me answer the first two because I think they were for me. What was the first one again? I apologize.
And the state of the diplomacy, what led to the confusion and where things stand now.
And then the second one was USAID. Okay.
Yes, please. Thanks.
I'm not confused about Panama. We had conversations. I felt there were strong first steps. We have expectations we made clear in those conversations. I respect very much that Panama has a process. They're a democratically elected government. They have rules. They have laws. They're going to follow their process, but our expectations remain the same. In particular on that, I would just say that the United States has a treaty obligation to protect the Panama Canal if it comes under attack. That treaty obligation would have to be enforced by the armed forces of the United States, particularly the U.S. Navy. I find it absurd that we would have to pay fees to transit a zone that we are obligated to protect in a time of conflict. Those are our expectations. They were clear. They were clearly understood in those conversations. But I respect very much the fact that Panama has a process of laws and procedures that they need to follow as it relates to the Panamanian Canal authorities. We'll allow them to work through those processes. We intend to make it amicable the way our visits were. As far as the USAID, a couple points. The goal of our endeavor has always been to identify programs that work and continue them, and to identify programs that are not aligned with our national interests and identify those and address them. So we have sent out guidance to those deployed abroad that they will be on leave of absence, not fired, leave of absence as of Friday. And then we made very clear in the message, it's there and it's written in the message that was posted, that if there are exceptional circumstances regarding family or displacement, or maybe their spouse is employed in the embassy, so they're co-located and their children are in school, there's room and space for that. We also made clear in the guidance that there would be specially designated programs that would not be a part of that order. And we are working through the process of identifying them now, what those specially designated programs are, and we will continue to work through the process of finding them. The third point I would make is that people were given 30 days that we would help bring them home if they so desired during that 30-day period. And at the same time, the expectation, as I said, that if they have a special condition or something's going on, we didn't list them all, but we're willing to listen to those. We're not trying to be disruptive to people's personal lives. We're not being punitive here. But this is the only way we've been able to get cooperation from USAID. I had preferred not to do it this way. When we tried to do it from the top down by getting cooperation from the central office of USAID, what we found instead are people trying to use the system to sneak through payments and push through payments despite the stop order. We found people that were uncooperative in terms of giving us information and access, all very consistent with some of the things we experienced while we were in Congress. And so we've had to do this other route instead. But we are going to do foreign aid. The United States will be providing foreign aid, but it is going to be foreign aid that makes sense and is aligned with our national interest. And I know the last question wasn't for me, but I want to address that as well. Number one, the United Nations is sitting on $100 million in their fund. The United States has provided 15 of the $100 million for that fund. Okay? Only 13 million of that is currently frozen. That means they still have $85 million plus the 1-point-something million they spent that we already have in there available for the mission. That's clear. And that's not an impediment to the mission continuing. Beyond the UN fund, I've issued a waiver providing for the use of, I think it's close to $40 million of additional support. And those contracts are out there and they're working now. They're providing logistical support both to the mission and to the Haitian National Police. Those are facts. So I could just say that's a pretty strong commitment, and it's certainly a lot stronger commitment than some of the other rich countries around the world who aren't doing nearly as much. By the way, it's a credit to Kenya, who's come halfway around the world and are willing to stand up and do something about it, when countries in our own hemisphere, they're not willing to do anything about it. And I don't want to go through and list all of them and start some diplomatic fight my 2.5 weeks into my term here, but I'm just telling you there's some rich countries out there, and they're not doing nearly enough about it, and they could be doing more. So I encourage them to do more.
The goal of the U.S. government has always been to identify programs that work and continue them while addressing programs that don't align with U.S. national interests. Unfortunately, Rubio explained that, after trying to get cooperation from USAID's central office, they found that certain people were not complying with orders to stop payments and were trying to push through transactions against the system's rules. This lack of cooperation, he says, forced the government to take stronger action. Now, let's touch on the broader picture of U.S. foreign aid, especially in the context of Haiti. Rubio made a strong statement about U.S. leadership, particularly when it comes to Haiti's situation. He pointed out that the U.S. has already contributed a significant amount of money to the International Fund for Haiti, specifically $15 million out of the $100 million fund managed by the United Nations. But as Rubio made clear, there are other nations, particularly wealthy countries, that haven't stepped up to the same degree. He called on these nations to do more, while praising Kenya for its strong commitment to help. So there you have it. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has made it clear that the U.S. is taking firm steps to clarify the Panama Canal situation and to ensure that USAID's overseas operations are aligned with national interests. If you're one of the thousands of USAID employees affected, rest assured that flexibility and support are in place to address personal and professional concerns. As always, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on important diplomatic and policy developments. We'll continue to bring you all the latest news and analysis right here on this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.